Welcome to Rockstars, the podcast where high performance meets real life.
I'm Brent Lang, joined by my wife, Jennifer Jones, and this is where we talk about rocks, rings, and everything in between.
It's about chasing dreams and asking, why not me?
And figuring out how to keep going when things get hard or hilarious.
Sometimes it's just us talking curling, business, family, and parenting.
Sometimes it's bigger conversations about success, pressure, and believing that anything is possible.
We keep it honest, uplifting, and fun.
We might even make you laugh.
Because this is about the wins, the losses, and real life in between. Rocks, rings, real life.
This is Rockstars. Welcome back to Rockstars, Rocks, Rings, and Real Life, the podcast where a couple of dream chasers open up about chasing big goals, living in the moment, navigating life's highs and lows, and figuring out what comes next on and off the ice. I'm Olympian and world champion curler Brent Lang, and as always, I'm joined by the one and only Olympic gold medalist, world champion Jennifer Jones. Jen, what are we diving into today?
I thought we'd just talk a little bit about being where your feet are, which we always talk about.
Okay.
And just March break, what it's like. Because we've never really spent March break with the kids.
Is this a bitch session?
No.
Oh.
But
sorry.
we've never really spent March break with the kids at home. And I wasn't sure what it was going to be like.
Where have we been? Is that Briar typically? Partially?
Yeah, but Briar mixed doubles. We're usually at mixed doubles and they'll come with us. So we've spent March break with the kids, but never really doing nothing.
Okay. Before we dive in, though, as always, we want to thank our listeners. A big shout out to all of you. If you are loving the show, please hit that subscribe button if you're listening on YouTube and leave us a review and follow us on our socials at RockstarsCurl on Instagram and X and at BLang99 on X, at JJonesCurl on Insta. It truly does mean the world to us. And please keep any podcast topics you want to hear us talk about. No promises, but I think we can probably come through for you, especially if it's a good topic. And also those Rockstar rapid fire questions, any quick questions about current events, past events, curling, business, life, whatever you want. Just fire away. Send them to us on our socials, and we'll try and get them answered for you. So back to you, Jen. Be where your feet are. March break madness. Is it March break madness?
Well, just March break in general, because it's been interesting. We've had March break and we've, had the kids were with us at home and just talking to a bunch of other moms. And it's just been really interesting to hear some of the feedback. I know I went to the store during the first day of March break and I could see there was all these moms and their kids were in their cart there at Walmart.
Were they smiling moms or
no,
angry?
They were maxed out. They're like, that's it. I've had enough. And it's like day one.
Uh-oh.
So, it's just interesting. And then I was talking to another friend of mine who planned a really spectacular first weekend of March break. They went to Toronto. They did lots of fun things. They went out for a nice, brunch. They went to some arcades. They, tried to really.
That's over the top.
Like soak in Toronto. They stayed at a hotel. Like it was a big thing. And then the very next day, her daughter was asking, so what are we doing today? Where are we going?
Well, that's what I was saying. How do you top that? Like, what's next, Mom?
Yeah. So and it was interesting because we've never really had to figure it out before because we've always been away. We've been curling. We know what we're going to do. The kids come. And that's how they spent March break, which was one of the reasons we wanted to retire because there is more to life than curling.
I wanted to be that mom pushing that cart at Walmart, pissed off at the world, wondering, why did I do this to myself?
But you know what I found quite interesting, actually? So for us, the first few days were spent not doing, just around the house. And the kids would be, I'm bored, I'm hungry, I want a snack. And I'd say, well, why don't you play with some of your crafts? You can make some slime. I'm not really a lover of the slime, but I was allowing this to happen. Let's bake some cookies. Let's do this, like trying to come up with some fun ideas. And it was always, oh, can I do this? Can we go out? Can we go to, rec room? Can we go to X Play? Can we do all of these things? But what was amazing to me? We decided we were going to go to our cottage.
Mm-hmm.
And to get to our cottage, which is on an island, we have to go across the lake, obviously.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If it's an island.
So it's a production. It was interesting to me because we snowshoed across, and I'm a little chicken when it comes to crossing. So we double, triple, 100 times checked to make sure that it was safe to cross, that the ice was thick enough for us to go across.
Well, I wouldn't say we Double, triple, 100-time check. We talked to a few people that know more than us, and we sent Brent first.
Yeah.
That was the real check. Send the heaviest guy first.
With the cooler. And then we had to get like a sled that would, we could, that we
Back to that.
James, you could pull the sled with our food over, because once we were there. But it was beautiful. It was still minus temperatures. So we felt safe. So we walked across in snowshoes, and the kids were incredible. So we got to our cottage, and we didn't do anything different at our cottage than we would do at home. We watched movies, we cooked, we baked, we played some cards, we played crib, and never once did they say they were bored.
Why? What's the difference? So what are we getting at here? What's the difference between being at home? And I asked this question when we got home. So girls, we were just at the cottage for, it was basically 2.5 days, almost 3 days, and not a complaint. Never I'm bored, never really anything.
But
And
not even I'm hungry all the time.
well, they just grab what they want.
Yeah. But no, but it wasn't like they were eating all the time because they weren't bored.
So what's the difference?
But what did they tell you? I want to see if it's the same as what they told me.
Well, I don't think they answered me. I think they just kind of ignored me and went back to their iPad or whatever they were doing. But no, I honestly, if they answered, I don't remember.
Well, and that's the other thing. They weren't even really on their iPads when we were at the cottage. Like, we went outside, we went tobogganing, we had to snowshoe everywhere. The only footprints on the island were from deer and rabbits and us.
And a little bit of snowmobile trail from some of the people that are checking on cottages and the one guy that lives on the island year round.
But yeah, it was just us. But what they said to me is they didn't think they could do anything else, so they really enjoyed what they were doing.
So you're saying they were where their feet were for the first time in a couple of days? Is that what we're getting at here?
Well, I think so.
Okay.
And it really stuck with me because it was, here are these kids that want to be entertained, that are really, we travel all over the place, and all of a sudden we got to the cottage, and they were just so present and in the moment and focused on what we were doing that they weren't thinking of what they were missing out on. They were where their feet were. Isn't that what it means to you?
Somewhat. Yeah. I mean, Be Where Your Feet Are came, for me, a little bit of background quickly. It came from Coach John Dunn. It was at the 2017 Olympic curling trials in Ottawa. And John would play us a lot of war videos for perspective, for, commitment, for a whole bunch of different reasons. And that particular time before the event started, he brought in a friend of his. John's worked with the Canadian military, and he brought in I always call them Canadian Navy SEALs because I don't actually know what they're called in Canada. But this guy came in, and the basis of his message, after he told us some interesting stories without names or locations or anything, he told us some like real stories about, wow, this guy is, he's got more commitment than I do, is what I was thinking. But his overall message was be where your feet are. And when things hit the fan where he is, it's a little different. It's life and death. When it happens to us on the curling ice, it's about perspective, but it's about, you can never not be where you are. So whatever's going on in that moment, that's what you have to deal with right then and there. It makes no difference what's happened. It makes no difference where you're going. All that matters is that moment right then. And what are you going to do to, in his case, save yours and your teammates' lives? In our case, how do we get back from down 2 playing 7? A little bit different. But to
kind
us,
of feels a little less.
But to us,
yeah, but it is important.
Obviously. I don't want it to say it feels the same, because there's no way I could ever say that. But it feels like everything is the point, right? And we said that a bunch that week to each other. Be where your feet are. Like when you're getting ahead of yourself, or when you're pissed off that you gave up a bad 2 or a bad 3. So to me, be where your feet are is always, don't hide from the bad stuff, figure a way out. But it can also be, make sure you enjoy everything, right? I don't know where this quote came from, and I used it in the office today. One of the guys I was like, how's it going? And it happened to be a Tuesday, and today's Tuesday. I don't know what the date is because I never do, but he said, it's okay. And I'm like, okay. He's like, well, it's Tuesday. And I said, well, what does that mean? He says, well, only, 3.5 more work days. And I said, well, that's a great way to live life, right? We're going to try and hope that the next 5 days go away so that we can live 2 every week. And I said, I'm pretty sure that, you shouldn't wish time away. And this is the quote, don't wish time away. This is the good part. And he smiled and laughed. And I think that a quote I stole, which is all I ever do, is I think it picked him up and made him realize that, oh, I better find something good in this moment, in this day, or I'm going to look back, years from now and say, I wasted most of my life hoping for the day to pass. That just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. And it's interesting to me because I never heard that quote right from John Donne. I've only heard it from you. And when you've told it to me and you say, be where your feet are, I've always taken it as enjoy the moment, be present, be focused. Like don't let your mind wander to somewhere else. Make sure you're fully present and fully engaged in what you're doing. And that really, really helped me when when we had our children.
No, and you did.
And
I didn't have any.
no, and I was trying to find, and I don't like work-life balance, but I was trying to find that ability to kind of do many things. And, there was so much judgment when we were traveling and we had the kids. We brought them everywhere, but, some people thought that they didn't have a normal childhood. Some people thought, how can you ever leave your children, And so I was trying to really navigate that. That's a good word. Navigate what that felt like. And then I heard this quote, be where your feet are. I'm like, that's it. So when I'm curling, I'm going to be 100% focused on curling. I'm not going to feel guilty about not being with the girls, even if they were there with me, but they're like in the hotel room or wherever they may be. I'm not going to feel guilty about that. I'm going to enjoy what I'm doing, because if I'm not present and I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, what's the point? Like, why are you doing it? Because then you're not really doing a good job at anything. But then when I was with the kids, I tried to be 150% focused on that so I could remember it. Do you know when you have so many things on your mind, you're just trying to get through the day, as you were saying, you don't even remember anything you did. You're not really focused on anything. You're just trying to get by, and you don't really even focus on it. So it's just kind of a waste of time. So that quote has always helped me be grounded. And I always say you should enjoy the moment. And that really helped me to remember to enjoy the moment, be present, be focused, be where my feet were. But that's not really the meaning of what you saw it as.
Well, I think it is. It's the same message in a different, because of when I heard it and what we were heading into. Yeah, it is enjoy it. And that's definitely it. But it's more of the mental toughness side of, no matter what comes, that's where I am. And that's the problem I have to solve, is right where I am right now. What am I standing in? And because I heard it in a military sense, and
Life and death.
from the guy who has experienced it, and that was their team mantra, was no matter what happens. And that could be in that situation, my best friend who, I would do anything for, just got his arm shot off. But I'm going to be where my feet are because he needs me to be right here, right now, not worried about what's going to happen, but worried about what am I going to do next to make sure that we get out of this, or to make sure that we improve our situation. And again, comparing it to curling, which was sometimes lost on some of my teammates and sometimes not, I always really enjoyed it. And I've stolen some of those ideas in some of the coaching that I've done since. But I think it matters the context you apply it to, but it can be applied to anything. It's no different than it's never not now. Like it's the only day that never comes is what? It's tomorrow, right? It's never going to be tomorrow, because when today turns into tomorrow, it's now today. So it's never not now. It's be where your feet are. It's don't wish away time, because this is the good part. All of those things to say, you have to find a way to make the best of your situation, no matter where you are. And sometimes you're in a hellhole, and sometimes that's literal, and sometimes it's mental, and sometimes it's both. If you're in the military, and hey, all the power to those people that do that. I like to watch the movies. I love the mental toughness. I love watching Hell Week and all those shows, as you know, and I like to think that I could do it, but I don't know if I could.
I think you could. You're really mentally tough.
Well, you have to say that. I'm sitting beside.
But you're also not scared of hard things, and that's a big thing.
No, and we've talked about that before. It's not natural. I know now, after having done a bunch of difficult things, that those are the best things you can do. And those are where you grow the most. That's where you learn the most. And those are the most rewarding. Doing easy things is a good way for me to stroke things off my to-do list, which makes me feel real nice, as you know. Just like putting garbage in the garbage, I see instant progress. It builds momentum. But if I don't do anything hard in a day, I don't feel very fulfilled.
Turning off light switches.
Well, that's just smart. I don't like burning money.
Yeah, but you can see well. See, if you come to the side of the people who need light to see.
Well, okay, so for instance, as we're in our main floor of our house, if there was 4 lights on upstairs, does that help you see well?
When I go upstairs, it does.
But you can turn one on when you need to see. This is a different topic.
Anyway, but
see where your feet are. We're on a podcast, Jenny.
No, I know, and I just, you know what, it really. We've talked about it all the time. We have all these mantras that we live by. Enjoy the moment, for sure. For one is me. Be where your feet are, and just, never let anybody tell you can't. And they all kind of mush together. But I think for me, it really hit home when I witnessed how dramatic it could be in the happiness and joy of our children. Like they were where their feet were when we were at the cottage, and they seemed so content and so happy. And I feel like in a world where there's constant stimulation, there's always things to do. You're always wondering what's more fun. Like, can I go and play Roblox with my friends? Can I go and, I don't know, do this, do that? Can I, like when we were growing up, it was go and play basketball on the street until the
So the
lights.
lights came on.
Yeah. And then you had to come home, right? And that's just not really a thing anymore. But when we were at the cottage, it felt like it was that thing. Like we were just there. It was just us. We had to make do with what we had, and we were content. And so I want to try to build that into like going forward and just it was a really good reminder to do that and just to be, a little not more grateful, because I feel like the kids are really grateful, but it was just a really good reminder.
Yeah, the simple life, there's something to that. And I think it's partially expectation. And like you said, there's not as many stimulants and not as many options. So when you're going there, and they were so excited to go that when we got there, they knew it was time to relax and spend time together and do some cooking and go for some snowshoeing and go tobogganing, and then figure out that if dad can snowboard on a toboggan down the hill, that I want to try it. And then maybe that is fun as mom's sitting at the top saying, oh, don't you dare break something. I don't want to pay for a helicopter.
Especially on the island. I'm a little bit more cautious, we'll say. But yeah, they had a great time. We played crib. They were playing crib just on their own. And it's something that I did with my grandpa growing up. And we do that before, but it was just we played for hours on end. So it just, there was a lot of great reminders. And it makes me think that if we are going to spend March break at home, which we have to now because the girls are in competitive dance, and anybody in competitive dance will relate that you practice during March break. So there's no vacationing.
Right, which is awesome.
So is that maybe you set a schedule and say, this is what we're doing those days. But I think if there are, it's the ability, like even we forgot eggs at the cottage to bring.
Did we? It's still me. We is still me. And I'll take the blame on that one. They were in the fridge and I didn't pack them. And so you can make French toast without eggs, but we didn't try that. Apparently you can make pancakes without eggs, but it's more like they turn into potato pancakes almost. They're pretty dense.
They weren't great. And we have Skyla, who is quite, she knows what she likes.
Likes what she likes.
Yeah. And I don't think she's going to eat these pancakes. And we were so excited for the pancakes. We brought everything to go for these pancakes, and she didn't complain.
She thought they were fluffy, which I think she was misdiagnosing it as they were thick.
No, but she didn't complain. And she's like, them. Mom, you did the best you could. And it's like, again, I don't know. It was just a really good reminder for me. And what's another like mantra that you think you would live by that you think really helps in everyday life?
Well, I think we've covered a lot of them. I mean, be where your feet are is a big one. I think, do what you say you're going to do and do everything. Like I've said before on a previous podcast, it's how I do one thing is how I do everything. If you could do that, and I'm not pretending that I do that all the time, but it is something I remind myself of. And if you do whatever you're doing, that could be taking out the garbage. And I'm not saying that's a difficult task, but if something falls out of the garbage, you don't keep going. You stop, you pick it up, and you put it away.
Do you know, I saw somebody taking out the garbage today, and the garbage fell.
I don't even do anything, right?
No.
That tells me everything I need to know about that person. I would never hire that person.
Flew away.
I picked it off our driveway when I got home.
No, I picked it up. So I must have messed up. Yeah. And it flew onto our driveway, and they literally watched me go and pick it up. Right. It wouldn't fly into somebody else's driveway.
I think that says something about that person.
Yeah, I didn't really like that.
No, they're not my kind of person. That's what it says.
Whereas I would probably, me, I'd go running down the street trying to catch it, and I'd probably fall.
Of course.
Just save it.
So, yeah, and, treat other people the way you want to be treated. Same idea. If our garbage flew onto the neighbors, I would go get it, because if theirs flew onto mine, I would expect them to come get it.
Yeah.
So I used to think that was the Canadian way, that it was, excuse me and sorry and thank you, and just to be, and that's what I love. That's part of what I love about our culture, without getting too far off track here, is
manners
and not negatively impacting someone else. To me, that was always a Canadian value, was you're not going to get in somebody's way. And if you do, you're going to say, I apologize. And that was always the Canadian way. And, the cities, it's a little bit different and they continue to change, but that was where I was growing up. And that was a Canadian, that was a Lang family value, was not that you're staying out of everybody's way. You're a person and you're important too. But if you're going to inconvenience somebody, you're going to try and do it as little as possible. When it happens, you're going to say sorry to the point where it becomes a punchline and a joke, which it still is about Canadians.
I love that. Be neighborly too. Yeah.
Simple.
I love that. But if anybody's listening, and I honestly would love, very much love, for you to comment on everybody who has a staycation at home during March break. And Brent and I are both trying to work during March break as well. So trying to balance working, having the kids at home. What does that look like for you? Do you have any suggestions for those dance families that are at home?
And if you're willing to share, did your alcohol consumption double or triple? Or did it stay the same or did it go down? And I'm not judging. I won't judge.
And one other friend I ran into, and we were just talking about it, and they're like, yeah, it feels like this never ending week. But then when it's over, you want it back. Like, it's like when you put your kids to bed at night, you just want them to go to sleep because you're tired and it's been a day. But then the moment you're asleep, you're like, oh, I just wish I, maybe gave them one more hug and I hope they feel loved. You don't feel like that?
I can't relate to that.
Yeah. Or when, now all of a sudden March break's over, you want that time back. And so it's a kind of a catch-22.
I would be interested to hear though, what people did, not to get through March break, but to keep kids entertained. To keep them from just watching their iPad or doing whatever. And
for a staycation, obviously.
Without going to Toronto and then going to the, a Leafs game followed by a Raptors game, going up to CN Tower, going to the aquarium. Like, without doing that, what are some ways that you've entertained your kids? And we found that getting them outside at the cottage where there was really no other option was a huge win for us. But
baking bread,
baking whatever. I mean, yeah. So that was a win for us, but love to hear from everybody. And but I think I want to ask a rapid fire question today of you as we're talking here, and it's going to be impossible to answer because I want to know what you say to the people who said in the beginning, you can't take your kids on the road. It's not fair. It's not a normal life. And now those same people are telling us, how dare you leave your kids at home?
No, I know. It really is. And this isn't going to be a quick answer. You just
rapid fire.
Well, they're mean. That's my rapid fire answer. They're mean.
Okay. Now the long one.
Yeah. It's such a double standard. And, and we can talk about men versus women. And I think you'd back me up on this. Like, Brent never got any of the negative comments about parenting.
No.
Like about leaving the kids.
Zero.
And I got it all. Like, the one that what I'll remember is Isabella was 13 months when we went to the Olympics. We went back and forth. I actually really wanted to bring her. And I'm like, it just didn't make a lot of sense. We went back and forth and why we decided not to bring her. So
we were going to Russia.
Yeah. And at the time they were going to invade Ukraine. And like, there was a lot of things going on. And so it just made sense for a lot of reasons. Well, somebody literally wrote me like a 5-page letter outlining how I was a bad mom, that being a mom was more important than curling. How could I leave my daughter at home? And went on and on and on and on and on. And Brent got nothing.
I got some fire starter. That's how we started the fire that night. 5 pages.
Right. Well,
that was total bullshit, but
it was mean. And I think I'm a great mom. And so one of the things for me when we had Bella and then Skyla is that I really wanted to make sure that I didn't miss any milestones, that they were with us all the time. So we did bring them on the road all the time or as much as we could. That was the first event. The Olympics was the first event and really almost the only event until Bella started school that she missed. And it was really important to me. But then, yes, you'd have these other people that would say, your kids need stability, they need structure, they need this, they need that. Meanwhile, I brought like their bed, their bedding, everything, their stuffies to make sure that they felt that they were at home. Like we would call them hotel homes. And so we would just create our home wherever we were. And we always lived, I guess is another mantra we live by, was at home is where your family is. So wherever we were, that was where our home was. And so it was just you could never please anybody. We were always doing something wrong. And at the end of the day, we just tried to love them as much as we possibly can. And we did the best we could. And they're amazing.
And what other people think has nothing to do with me. And I've tried to get you to buy into that, but they've attacked you personally. They've never come out really directly at me. So bring it. I'll take it.
It is quite interesting though to me how that happens. So you these female curlers on tour will have babies and they're questioned all the time about what they're going to do and all of these things. Whereas the male curlers, they don't physically have the baby, but they have children. And you go away 2 days later to go and curl because you can. And that was okay. but there's never any judgment for that. It's quite interesting to me how that works. So anyway, I would say it was, I don't know, not very rapid fire question, but it's definitely a topic to look into.
It's a pretty simple topic. I mean, mind your own business, number one. And number two, our kids have had a great life. And is it the same as everybody else's? No, but what makes your parenting choices better than ours? Last time I checked, as long as we're taking care of our kids and loving our kids and supporting our kids, then piss off.
Okay. Brent loved it when people tried to babysit our kids when we were
strangers. Yeah, no, that's a whole other get away from like our baby. Like, I know they're trying to be nice. It's just really strange. It's not a puppy where you're going to grab the leash and walk it for a bit and I say thanks. It's like, no, we'll take her on the ice with us to practice. It's okay. She's bundled up and this is her life. You know, there's a lot of kids that have to deal with a lot more than parents traveling and bringing them with them, or parents being away, and you have to spend time with their terrible grandmother, Carol.
I know, the best.
It bent.
Best grandma. Pat asked a one rapid fire question. She asked, what is your biggest lesson that you've learned from curling that you can apply to everyday life?
Well, I think there's many. I mean,
one.
I think there's no substitute for hard work, for repetition, for time. Time spent doing the right things, working at a skill is the only way to get better. And there's just no way around that. There's a book called No Shortcut to the Top. Ed Viester is a mountaineer from the US, and there's no shortcuts to success. It goes through planning, hard work, reevaluating, seeing what you could do better, replanning, hard work, reevaluating, see what you could do better, replanning, hard work, rinse and repeat. Surround yourself with like-minded people. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with most. So if you're hanging out with 5 people who don't want to do anything in life, the chances of you being successful are pretty low. If you hang out with people that are chasing dreams, even if they're not the same ones, way higher chance that you'll get somewhere pretty cool.
Yeah, and I would say one of the biggest lessons, we've talked about this before, is why not you? That would be one for sure, and I'm going to do 2 because I can, because I'm going last. It's also just never let anybody tell you can't. I think that's something that I learned, and to just, work in an environment with your team, like how to work with a team, how to bring out the best in each other. Surrounding yourself with not like-minded people so that you can get the different perspective and really kind of elevate your level of understanding of everybody around you. I think curling really taught us that, and just trying to respect everybody's differences and accept people for who they are. And, I think it actually enriches life to see different perspectives.
Oh, I don't think there's any question, but I think that's bringing us to the end of this episode. As always, thank you for tuning in, everyone. Keep rocking the chaos, chasing adventures, loving the ride, and never stop dreaming. We will see you next time on Rockstars.